Why some paintings have completely different images underneath. Imagine standing in front of a famous painting. You see a woman, a landscape, a carefully painted face. Everything seems complete. But what if the image you are looking at is not the only painting on the canvas? What if, beneath the visible surface, there is another face? Another figure? Another composition that the artist abandoned long ago? For centuries, these hidden images remained invisible. A painting showed the world only what was on its surface. But modern science has changed that. Today, conservators can sometimes look beneath layers of paint without touching or damaging the artwork. And what they discover can completely change our understanding of a masterpiece. Artists changed their minds. They experimented. They made corrections. They moved figures. They painted over mistakes. And sometimes, they simply reused an old canvas because a new one was too expensive. The final painting may look perfectly planned. But underneath, it can contain the story of everything the artist considered before reaching that final image. One of the most fascinating clues is called a pentimento. The word comes from the Italian word meaning repentance or a change of mind. In art conservation, a pentimento is evidence that an artist changed something in the painting during the creative process. A hand may have originally been in one position and later moved. A face may have been slightly different. A figure may have stood somewhere else. The artist painted over the earlier idea. But sometimes, the original image slowly becomes visible again. As materials age, layers of paint can become more transparent. Changes in the surface can reveal traces of what lies underneath. And modern technology can take us much further. One important method is X-radiography. You may already know X-rays from medicine. Doctors use them to look inside the human body. Conservators use X-rays to look inside paintings. Different pigments respond differently to X-rays. Some pigments containing heavier elements can appear particularly clearly. This means an X-ray image can sometimes reveal an earlier composition hidden beneath the painting we see today. Suddenly, a familiar artwork may have a completely different story. Another important technology is infrared reflectography. Certain drawing materials and underdrawings can be detected using infrared light even when they are covered by layers of paint. Researchers may discover the first lines the artist placed on the canvas before painting began. They can sometimes see changes in the position of a hand, the outline of a face, or a figure that disappeared beneath later paint. It is almost like watching the artist think. Not through words, but through the decisions preserved inside the canvas. There is also a technology called macro X-ray fluorescence, or MAXRF. It allows researchers to map chemical elements across a painting. Because different pigments contain different elements, these maps can reveal where certain materials were used beneath the visible surface. It is almost like creating a secret map of the painting. Layer by layer, another story begins to emerge. Vincent van Gogh provides some remarkable examples. Van Gogh often struggled financially, and canvas was not always easy to afford. Researchers have discovered hidden portraits and other earlier compositions beneath some of his paintings. Imagine discovering a completely different face underneath a painting that has been famous for generations. The person beneath the surface may have disappeared from history. We may not know who they were. We may not know why Van Gogh painted over them. But their image survived, hidden beneath another painting. For more than a century, the earlier portrait remained invisible. Then science brought it back into the conversation. And this is where hidden paintings become more than scientific discoveries. They can reveal something deeply human about artists. We sometimes imagine great artists as people who knew exactly what they wanted from the beginning. But these hidden layers tell us something different. Artists hesitate. They change their minds. They experiment. They make mistakes. They start again. And sometimes, they transform one idea into another. The final masterpiece may actually be the result of many decisions that nobody was supposed to see. Pablo Picasso also reused canvases and changed compositions. Scientific studies of some of his works have revealed earlier images beneath the surfaces we recognize today. These discoveries can help researchers understand how his ideas developed. They can also provide clues about when a work was created and how it relates to other paintings. But sometimes the hidden image creates a mystery that science cannot solve. Suppose researchers discover the face of a woman beneath a famous painting. Who was she? A model? A friend? A family member? Someone the artist wanted to forget? Someone who no longer belonged in the story? Science can reveal her face, but it may never reveal her identity. That is one of the most fascinating things about art research. Every answer can create another question. And not every mystery has a solution. There is also an important ethical principle. Museums do not normally remove the visible painting simply because they discover another image underneath it. The painting on top is itself part of history. Destroying it to reveal what lies beneath would mean losing one artwork in order to expose another. Instead, researchers use non-invasive technologies whenever possible. The hidden image can remain underneath. The original surface can remain protected. And yet, the buried image can still become part of our understanding of the work. In a way, the canvas becomes an archive. It preserves decisions that the artist never intended to display. A masterpiece may contain several versions of itself. The first idea. The second idea. The correction. The abandoned figure. The final composition. All of them remain together, separated only by thin layers of paint. So the next time you stand in front of a painting, look a little differently. The woman you see may not have been the first woman the artist painted. The landscape may not have been the first landscape. The composition may have changed many times before reaching the museum wall. Behind the final brushstroke may be a mistake, a memory, an abandoned idea, or perhaps a person the artist never expected anyone to see again. For centuries, these stories were locked beneath the surface. Today, light, X-rays, infrared imaging, and chemistry are allowing us to uncover them without destroying the art. And that gives us a new way of looking at masterpieces. We are no longer seeing only the finished painting. We are beginning to see the journey that created it. Because sometimes, the greatest secret in a painting is not what the artist chose to show us. It is what they painted first, and then chose to hide.